Andrew out and coming on to Harry and Meghan, I think for them now in Montecito.
Very, very structured, well-organised tour. Gives away £1.5 million. And Madame in Montecito is not making it easy for him. So he is...
You thought Meghan Markle's biggest secret was leaving the palace? Think again. Tom Bower, the guy who's made a career chasing royal stories, just stumbled onto something that's got the internet absolutely losing it. We're talking about a magazine from 1997, gathering dust in some archive, that just blew her entire timeline wide open. One number. That's all it took. And now people can't stop asking, wait, how old is she really? Because here's the thing. The math isn't mathing. And once you see what Bower found, you're going to understand why half the internet can't stop talking about it. Real quick, if you want to see where this goes, hit that like button and subscribe, because what I'm about to show you is wild. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Let's dive in. So here's how this whole thing started. Someone was digging through old 17 magazine archives, you know, the kind of stuff that's been sitting in dusty boxes for decades, probably smelling like old paper and forgotten dreams. And they hit gold.
And his version of her timeline doesn't even come close to the one printed on royal letterhead. In interviews, Thomas has said things that made even season...
The March 1997 issue. Nothing special at first glance, just your typical teen magazine with beauty tips, celebrity crushes, and advice columns about boys who won't text back. The usual stuff every teenage girl in the 90s was reading between classes. But then they spotted it. Tucked somewhere between a makeup tutorial and some feature about Leonardo DiCaprio, there was a small section showcasing up-and-coming young faces. And right there, in plain black and white print, was Meghan Markle's name. Young, fresh-faced, probably hoping to make it big someday. And listed right under her photo, age 21. Now you're probably thinking, okay, so what? She was 21 in 1997. Cool story. Except here's where it gets weird, like really weird. According to every official biography, every royal website, every public record you can find online, Meghan was born on August 4th, 1981. It's been plastered everywhere for years. Do the math real quick.
But in this film...
But unfortunately, we're going to have to boycott it.
Well, no, because in this film, she had... Meghan, let's be fair.
That means in 1997, she should have been around 15, maybe 16 at most. Not 21, definitely not 21. 6 years, we're talking about 6 full years just sitting there unexplained. That's not a small oops. That's not someone forgetting to carry the one or mixing up numbers. That's an entire chunk of life, like high school, and then some just vanished or added, depending on how you look at it. And once this magazine page hit the internet, people absolutely lost it. I mean, completely went off the rails. Royal fans started screenshotting the page, zooming in, enhancing the image like they were working for the FBI. They shared it across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. People were breaking down the numbers like they were solving some cold case murder mystery. Comment sections turned into full-blown debates. Wait, was she lying about her age this whole time? Did Hollywood make her shave off a few years to seem fresher and younger? Is she secretly pushing 50?
This just is proof of what I've been saying over the last few months. Meghan continues down Fergie's
instead of mid-40s. Did someone mess with her birth certificate? The questions came flooding in from every corner of the internet. Reddit threads exploded with theories. TikTok detectives put on their digital magnifying glasses and started pulling up old photos, comparing them side by side, analyzing when she looked too old or too young for the dates she claimed. Everyone wanted answers. And Meghan's team, complete radio silence. Not a statement, not a clarification, not even a, hey, that's wrong tweet, nothing. Which of course only made things worse because when you don't say anything, people fill in the blanks themselves. And trust me, the internet's really, really good at that. Silence in the age of social media is basically blood in the water. Fans demanded explanations. Critics doubled down. And suddenly, this one magazine line from 25 years ago became the hottest topic in royal gossip.
Then there's version 2, the 1997 17 magazine listing, age 21. Do the math, and her birth.
See, in Hollywood, age isn't just some number you casually put on a driver's license and forget about. It's currency. See, in Hollywood, your age can make or break your career. It's not just some random detail on paperwork. It's the difference between getting the call back and getting ghosted. It's what decides whether you're the lead or the lead's mom. And casting directors, they've got this unspoken rule book about youth and marketability. It's brutal, but it's real. 6 years might not sound like much in the real world. I mean, who cares if you're 28 or 34 when you're just living your life, right? But in Tinseltown, those 6 years can be everything. That can take you from hot commodity to has-been. It's harsh, but that's the game. Being younger opens more doors. Better roles, bigger projects, magazine covers, brand deals, youth sells. Always has, probably always will. And here's the thing, adjusting your age in Hollywood, it's not rare, it's pretty standard. Actresses knock off a few years, actors stay 35 for like a decade straight. It's basically an open secret.
Sussex 17 magazine. This issue is from February 1997. You may recognize the cover from the film Cruel.
That nobody really talks about, but everyone kind of knows. Now think about Meghan's story for a second. The official version goes like this. Small-time actress, working her way through auditions and bit parts, finally lands a solid gig on Suits in her late 20s, and boom, her career takes off. It's the classic underdog tale. Years of grinding, rejection, waiting tables probably, and then finally breaking through. Relatable, inspiring, the kind of story people love. But if that magazine was right and she was actually 6 years older than she claimed, Meghan's late bloomer story doesn't fit anymore. She's not the fresh-faced newcomer who got her big break after years of struggle. She's someone who'd already been in the game longer, maybe reinventing herself to fit what Hollywood wanted. It's not even about deception at that point. It's about survival in an industry that'll toss you aside the second they think you're aging out. And honestly, you can't even blame anyone for doing it. Hollywood's built on this obsession with youth.
About age, ambitions, and ambition-driven reinventions. Here is a first-hand perspective that hints at the
They want the next big thing, not the actress who's been trying for 15 years. So if tweaking a birth year here and there keeps you in the running, keeps the auditions coming, keeps your dream alive, a lot of people would do it without thinking twice. Tom Bower wasn't buying any of it, though. This guy's made a whole career out of uncovering royal stories that nobody else touches. He's the type who will spend months buried in dusty archives, squinting at old documents. Just to fact check a single sentence. When others move on to the next headline, he's still there, digging through paper trails and asking questions everyone else forgot about. So when he heard about this magazine listing, his radar went off immediately. Something didn't smell right, and Bower's got a nose for this stuff. He started pulling up everything he could find. Graduation records, early career info, old interviews she did when she was still nobody. Those archived pieces where she'd talk about her background and ambitions.
It began with a photo. An old archived picture from Northwestern University, a student salsa club snapshot.
The small details buried in articles from years ago that most people wouldn't even remember existed. And the more he collected, the less it all fit together. Like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle where half the pieces are from a completely different box. Take Northwestern University, for example. Meghan's always said she graduated in 2003 at 22 years old. Cute story. Standard 4-year college timeline. Kids go in at 18, come out at 22, get their diploma, start adulting. Makes perfect sense, right? Except when Bower ran the numbers based on that 1997 magazine listing where she was supposedly 21, the timeline has this weird gap in the years. She would have been closer to 27 walking across that stage. That's not just taking a semester off or doing a study abroad year. That's a chunk of time that doesn't get explained. Then there's her early career stuff. All those years grinding before Suits made her recognizable.
Like there was this one that was, they were looking for the next Got Milk model, and I applied to that one embarrassingly.
Her modeling and TV work from back then tells a different story than what the official timeline suggests. Those catalog shoots, the background roles in forgettable shows, the commercial gigs. When you look at the dates attached to those projects and compare them to how old she claimed to be, things get fuzzy. Photos where she looks more mature than the age listed. Credits that don't quite line up with the narrative everyone's been sold. Bower kept going, refusing to let it drop. He pulled up old entertainment articles, red carpet photos with timestamps, early audition records, every little breadcrumb he could track down. And pretty much every detail he found made the mystery deeper. It wasn't just one questionable year or a simple mix-up somebody could explain away. It was this pattern, this consistent feeling that something had been quietly smoothed over. Like someone had gone back and tidied up the timeline to make everything look cleaner, younger, more marketable. And that's when things got really interesting.
Okay. What they've done very cleverly is they use their friends, their lawyer.
Because Bower realized he wasn't the only one noticing the inconsistencies. Thomas Markle raised her, watched her grow up, knew her timeline better than anyone. Thomas Markle was there from day one, raising her, watching every milestone, living through every chapter of her life before the world knew her name. He's the guy who drove her to school every morning, sat through her first plays where she forgot her lines, watched her practice auditions in the living room over and over until she got them right. He was there for the graduations, the first headshots, the rejection letters, the small victories. If anyone should know the real story of Meghan's life, it's her dad. But here's the thing, what he remembers doesn't match what the public's been told. And we're not talking about forgetting whether something was on a Tuesday or Wednesday. We're talking about major life events. School milestones, career breaks, the kind of stuff a parent doesn't usually get fuzzy about because they were right there living it alongside their kid.
She's a chameleon. She, changes based on her environment. I think this is the real Meghan Markle.
Thomas remembers her teenage years crystal clear. The acting classes she begged to take, the high school productions where she'd get so nervous backstage, her graduation, walking across that stage with her whole future ahead of her. Those aren't the kind of moments that blur together in your memory. They're the big ones. The ones parents hold on to forever, probably have photos of somewhere in a box gathering dust. But when he compares those vivid memories to what's been presented to the world over the years, it's like watching two different movies play side by side. Events he remembers happening at certain ages don't match up with the ages being reported. Auditions she went on that he drove her to, small TV gigs she landed that had him so proud, the years she spent grinding away trying to make it. The numbers just feel wrong somehow, like someone hit shuffle on a playlist and the songs are playing out of order. He's not accusing anyone here. That's the important part to understand. He's not standing on some soapbox, pointing fingers or making dramatic claims.
The public was introduced to, the sparkling Hollywood actress turned Duchess, wasn't quite the same woman the records hinted at.
He's just confused about how the years shifted, scratching his head wondering why his clear memories feel like they're from a different version of events than what everyone else is talking about. It's that strange feeling when your own memories contradict the narrative out there. Like you're remembering things wrong, but deep down you know you're not. And that kind of confusion, that quiet sense of things being off, it's the sort of thing only a parent really experiences. When you raise someone, when you're there for every scraped knee and every report card and every big moment, you know their story inside and out. So when that story starts getting told differently in public, with ages adjusted and years rearranged, it messes with your head in ways that are hard to explain. Thomas isn't the angry dad calling press conferences or writing tell-all books. He's the puzzled father who keeps thinking, wait, wasn't she older when that happened?
Yeah, it was something developed. Meghan was going out with Harry. Meghan was about to get married to engage.
Or younger. Why don't the numbers I remember match what I'm hearing now? It's subtle, but it's there. That nagging feeling that something got quietly rewritten somewhere along the way. Even her own dad can't make sense of it all. But if you thought the confusion stopped with family memories, wait until you see what happens when someone actually breaks down the math. All right, let's actually look at the numbers here because this is where things get really wild. We've got two completely different versions of Meghan's age floating around, and depending on which one you believe, her entire life story changes shape. Version 1, the documented birth year, August 4th, 1981. That's what's on every royal website, every celebrity bio, every public record you can Google right now. According to this version, Meghan's 43, maybe 44, depending on when you're watching this.
It was just a girl trying to make it in Hollywood, submitting her real information to get noticed. Think about what this does to her.
She graduated college in her early 20s, spent most of her 20s grinding through small acting gigs, landed Suits when she was around 30, and became a household name right around that same time. It's the classic late bloomer story. Years of rejection and struggle, then boom, everything clicks into place right when she hits her 30s. Version 2, the magazine version. If that 1997 17 listing is accurate and she was really 21 back then, do the math. That means she was born somewhere around 1975 or 1976, which would make her closer to 49 or 50 today. Suddenly, those years of struggling actress trying to make it big, they weren't her 20s. They were her 30s pushing into her 40s. Landing Suits wouldn't have been a breakthrough at 30. It would have been more like 35, maybe 36. Still impressive, but it's a completely different story. And here's why that matters. Comparing what each age version means for her career path.
Well, what is remarkable, as we predicted last week, Dan, is that Harry thought he was going to come in as Godzilla.
Changes the entire vibe of her journey. In Hollywood, there's this massive difference between being a fresh 30-year-old, finally getting your shot, and being a seasoned 36-year-old still fighting for recognition. One sounds like perfect timing. The other sounds like last chance territory. It's harsh, but that's the reality of the entertainment industry. Her made it at 30. Success journey completely shifts if those extra years are real. Because at 30, you're still considered young in most careers, but in Hollywood, you're right at that sweet spot where doors are still opening, but the clock's ticking. At 36, you're fighting against an industry that's already looking past you toward the next younger face. The desperation level is different. The stakes are higher, the pressure's intense, and it's not just about Suits either. Think about everything that came after. Meeting Harry, becoming a duchess.
6 years. But in Hollywood and royal circles, 6 years can be the difference between fresh...
The whole fairy tale romance that captivated millions. If she was actually older than stated, it transforms the whole underdog story people connected with. It wasn't young actress stumbles into royal love story. It becomes experienced woman finding the perfect moment. Same events, totally different framing. 6 years might sound like nothing when you're just talking about age in general. But in the context of Hollywood, of building a brand, of crafting a public image that resonates, those 6 years are massive. They're the difference between fresh start and second act, between unexpected opportunity and well-timed move, between someone the audience relates to and someone they start side-eyeing. The internet saw those numbers and went absolutely feral. Like full-blown forensic mode activated within hours. People start digging through old pictures frame by frame, enhancing images like they're working for some crime lab with unlimited resources and too much free time.
In courtroom today, that he could never answer a question properly. He couldn't advance his case. And that is...
Every red carpet shot from the early 2000s suddenly became crucial material that needed serious scrutiny. Does she look 23 here, or does she look 30? Check the skin texture. Look at the facial features. Compare this shot to that one from 2 years later. It was absolute chaos, but the kind of entertaining chaos the internet lives for. Former classmates and acquaintances start speaking up about what they recall, popping up in comment sections everywhere. Wait, I went to school with her and I'm almost 50 now, so the math's not adding up for me either. Then others would counter with, no, I definitely remember her being younger than our grade. Some claimed they graduated the same year. Others swore they were different years entirely. Conflicting stories everywhere you looked. Nobody could agree on anything, which just poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Everyone had a version of events that contradicted someone else's version.
Is this true? There is a rumor she's actually older, so let's examine what's out there. This is a copy of 17 magazine.
Reddit and TikTok blow up with wild speculation, and I mean completely explode. People creating entire PowerPoint-style presentations with timelines, side-by-side comparisons, yearbook screenshots that may or may not have been real. Some ideas were halfway reasonable, like maybe she adjusted her age early in her career for better roles. Others were absolutely bonkers, involving fake birth certificates, Hollywood-wide conspiracies, and government cover-ups that made 0 sense but got thousands of upvotes anyway. But everyone was talking about it, sharing it, debating it in every comment section on the internet. The algorithm loved it. Videos breaking down the age mystery were getting millions of views overnight. Creators were pumping out content left and right, each one trying to crack the case with their own spin. Hashtags were trending across multiple platforms at once. This wasn't just celebrity gossip anymore. This was a full-blown internet event.
Meghan also revealed that she plans to get back on Instagram, saying she's missed interacting directly with people.
The kind where everyone from teenagers to grandparents suddenly has an opinion and won't shut up about it. And through it all, Meghan's team stays silent. Not a single tweet, not a press statement, not even a quick, hey, that magazine made a mistake back in the 90s post that would have taken 30 seconds to write. Complete radio silence, which only fuels the fire. Because when you don't say anything, people fill in that silence with whatever story makes sense to them. The wild ideas get wilder. The speculation grows legs and starts running marathons. And suddenly the lack of response becomes its own kind of answer in people's minds. Why isn't she denying it? What's she got to hide? If it was just a simple magazine error, wouldn't you just say that? The silence felt loud, and people noticed. Every day without a response was another day of hashtags climbing and videos spreading and the story getting bigger and bigger.
Tom Bower just tore Meghan Markle's image to pieces. From yacht girl whispers to shocking royal...
Then the California Birth Index shows up. Someone finally went to the actual source instead of just recycling internet rumors. The boring paperwork that nobody thinks to check at first because it's not sexy or exciting or meme-worthy. But there it was, sitting in a public database the whole time. State records, public information that anyone could have looked up from day one. The kind of thing you can't fake or edit because it's literally maintained by the state and has been for decades. And what does it say? August 4th, 1981. Clear as day. No asterisks, no footnotes, no confusion, just the straightforward documented date that's been sitting there quietly while the internet burned itself down with speculation. State records confirm August 4th, 1981, and suddenly the conspiracy theory starts looking really shaky because this isn't some celebrity fan website that could have gotten the date wrong. This isn't a page that someone with too much time could have edited at 3 a.m.
But she hasn't signed anything that restricts her from sharing her full story, but saying she hasn't yet because she's, quote, still here.
This is the actual birth record filed with California decades ago, probably by some tired hospital administrator who had no idea this baby would grow up to marry a prince. The kind of document that doesn't lie because it's created when you're literally born, before anyone cares who you'll become or what story you'll tell. And it's not just one source either. Every legit source you can check says the same thing. Birth certificates, school enrollment paperwork, state databases, everything lines up perfectly with 1981. No gaps, no weird inconsistencies, no suspicious corrections or edits. Just the same date repeated over and over across multiple independent systems that don't talk to each other and have no reason to coordinate a story. When independent sources all agree without any connection between them, that's when you know you're probably looking at the actual truth. Even Sister Samantha's book backs up 1981.
Is when Meghan Markle goes to meet Harry's friends for the first time. And they're all his old mates from the royal days. They've all been.
And honestly, that's the kicker that shut down a lot of the theories. because Samantha's not exactly on Team Meghan these days. That's well documented. If there was any dirt to spill, any secret to reveal about her sister's real age, any skeleton in the closet to drag out, Samantha would have been all over it. She wouldn't have held back. But nope. Even in her published memoir, where she's sharing all kinds of family stories and airing plenty of other grievances, she confirms the 1981 birth year without hesitation. When even family members who aren't on speaking terms and don't get along at all still agree on the basic facts, that tells you something important. So, with all the real records pointing one way, with every verifiable source saying the same thing, where did that magazine number even come from? So, with all the real records pointing one way, with every verifiable source saying the same thing, where did that magazine number even come from?
Let's talk about Prince Harry. Yeah, he's back in the news again. It was a great story the other day about him apparently upsetting many people in that...
Turns out 17's 1997 listing. Just a plain old screw up. Nothing sinister, nothing calculated, just a mistake that somehow survived for 25 years before exploding into the biggest royal age scandal the internet's ever seen. Here's the thing about magazines in the 90s. They messed up basic info constantly, like all the time. You didn't have instant Google to verify things. You didn't have databases at your fingertips. You had some editorial assistant with a stack of press kits and maybe a phone call or two if they felt like it. And honestly, for a tiny feature about unknown up-and-coming faces that nobody would remember, they probably didn't even bother calling anyone. Some editor probably typed the wrong number and called it a day. Maybe they misread a handwritten note. Maybe they confused Meghan with someone else in the pile of submissions sitting on their desk. Maybe they just hit the wrong key and nobody caught it before deadline.
I didn't understand she couldn't be number one. There is only one number one in the monarchy, and she didn't understand hierarchy. And she thought that because...
These things happened literally all the time in print before everything went digital. Errors would slip through, get published, and just sit there forever because there was no edit button once the magazine hit the newsstands. And here's what nobody thinks about. Old magazine pages were never meant to be trusted as truth. They never were designed to be some kind of permanent record. Magazines were entertainment. They were disposable content meant to be flipped through once at the salon and left behind. They weren't legal documents. They weren't official sources. They were paper products filled with ads, celebrity gossip, and questionable fashion advice. Using them as definitive proof of anything is like using a horoscope to plan your retirement. But the internet doesn't care about context. The internet sees a printed page and thinks, well, if it's in print, it must be verified and accurate and true. Except it's not. Print magazines, especially the teen magazines,
About lawnmowers and whether you should be mowing your lawn or whether you should be letting it grow wild. Have some thought for a Texas woman who's called Peggy
from the 90s were notorious for getting basic facts completely backwards. Ages, hometowns, career details, relationship status, you name it. If you went back through archives of basically any celebrity magazine from that era, you'd find dozens of mistakes per issue. It was just how things worked before the digital age forced everyone to triple check everything. One tiny mistake turned into years of wild theories because nobody bothered to look up the boring paperwork until way too late. By the time someone finally pulled the California birth index and found the real answer, the conspiracy had already taken on a life of its own. Thousands of videos, millions of comments, entire online communities dedicated to solving the mystery, message boards full of people who were absolutely convinced they'd cracked the code. All because some overworked magazine editor 25 years ago typed 21 instead of 15, and nobody caught it before the presses rolled.
So he's a very complicated, depressed, unintelligent man who is seeking a role.
And that's the wild part about all of this. The whole thing, this massive investigation that had people questioning everything they knew about Meghan Markle, all came down to one careless moment in a magazine office in 1997. One person having a bad day, one number that should have been different. And decades later, it nearly rewrote history in people's minds. So what does all this actually mean? Well, the theory falls apart when you look at the actual records. Every legitimate source, every piece of paperwork, every government database points to the same answer. August 4th, 1981, real age 43 to 44, exactly what's always been documented. The California Birth Index doesn't lie. Her sister's book confirms it. Even the people who aren't fans still back up the same date. The magazine was wrong. Simple as that. But here's what's wild. Why did people jump on it so fast? Like immediately. No hesitation, no...
Oh, wow. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that this is one of the most striking pictures ever.
Let me verify this with other sources first. Just straight up ran with it and built entire theories around one magazine page from 25 years ago. That's the real story here, and it's worth unpacking. And honestly, it makes sense when you think about it. So much gossip was already swirling that this just seemed like another piece of the puzzle. It wasn't some random accusation coming out of left field. It landed in an environment where people were already scrolling through headlines, already seeing her name everywhere, already exposed to constant chatter. So when this magazine page surfaced, it didn't have to fight for attention. It just slid right into the conversation. When someone's constantly in headlines, even false claims gain momentum. That's just how media works now. Once someone's name is everywhere, stories about them spread faster, get more engagement, and stick around longer. Fair or not, that's the reality of being in the public eye 24/7. A random magazine error that would have been ignored for most people.
The hiccups are chasms, it's a catastrophe. But I do think that he would have been asked by the king.
Became this whole thing because the spotlight was already burning bright. And look, we can debate all day about media coverage and whether it's fair or excessive. That's a whole different conversation about celebrity culture and the internet age. But the fact remains, when someone's name is constantly trending, people stop questioning individual stories as much. They start connecting dots even when the dots don't actually connect. They see patterns where there might not be any. This age thing, perfect example, it wasn't real. The basis was literally just one typo from the 90s that nobody caught. But it felt plausible to people because it seemed to fit with everything else swirling around. Once people are used to seeing someone's name attached to controversy, they'll believe the next story faster, even when there's nothing backing it up except one old magazine that nobody should have been taking seriously anyway. And here's the kicker. Sometimes the speculation is more entertaining than the boring truth. Magazine editor made a type
abuse and harassment from the press and on social media. Although not obvious at the time, this occasion set the tone.
25 years ago doesn't get clicks, it doesn't trend, it doesn't spark debates in comment sections, but is she secretly older than everyone thinks? Now that's content, that's engagement, that's the kind of story people want to share and argue about and make reaction videos dissecting. The truth was sitting in public records the whole time, free for anyone to access. But nobody cared about that until after the theory had already gone viral. So yeah, Meghan's not lying about her age. She's 43, maybe 44, depending on when you're watching this. Born in 1981, documented and confirmed from multiple independent sources.
Could Meghan Markle already be a grandmother? What you're about to hear is a shocking revelation that could rewrite Meghan Markle's entire...
The theory's done, but the reason it lived as long as it did, that's the part worth thinking about. Because the next time some random piece of information surfaces about anyone in the public eye, watch how fast people believe it. Watch how quickly it spreads before anyone bothers to verify if it's actually legit. That's the real takeaway here. In the age of the internet, a 25-year-old typo can become a full-blown scandal. And sometimes people prefer the speculation over the facts. Anyway, that's the story. Magazine typo from the 90s turns into internet chaos 25 years later. If you made it this far, drop a like and let me know in the comments. Did you think this theory had any legs or nah? And if you're into this kind of stuff, hit subscribe because we've got plenty more where this came from. Catch you in the next one.